glut. So you can grow all year round because one, you are controlling the environment. You're not depending on the rain. You're not depending on any other factor. You are creating the factors that will cause your crop to grow.
What would your output be on a when it's time to harvest?
Okay.
Give us a range.
Generally, if you're doing tomatoes and your cultural practices are right, depending on the varieties also you pick, the market you're targeting, you can have an average between 5 kg per plant per cycle, between 5 kg to 12 kg. What it means is that if you have 300 crops, let's just even peg it at 5 kg. 300 crops at 5 kg, you get about 1,500 kg. That's 1.5 tons. Now 1.5 tons, if you sell it at the market value, even when it's glut, 10 cedis, that's about 15,000. Hi, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to Techshelta Farm. My name is Paul Aseidu, a co-founder at Techshelta, and today I have Jifa coming into our farms to see exactly what we do. So come on, listen in. It's our greenhouse farm where you currently see we are growing tomatoes. The method of growing here is basically growing in the microenvironment. That's what the greenhouse tries to do for you. Create an environment that is at least devoid of pests to reduce pest pressure. Also create an environment that allows the crops to flourish. Now we grow with drip lines. We have buckets growing with the buckets have the growing media in them. The drip lines allows you to deliver water at least to some level of precision. Not too much water. Though you don't waste water, you don't waste nutrients. So we're able to deliver water to the crops where they are needed. So the greenhouse, basically, that's what it looks like. Then here you have the trellis lines. The trellis lines help the crops to climb a little higher, meaning that we have the crop growing to a point where you are able to harvest even more. And as it grows, you can layer further. That means reduce it, layer it, and allow the crop to continue fruiting, meaning over time, by the end of the season, you can actually have more yield away from the regular stuff on the ground where in about 2-3 months it's gone.
So are you saying that if I plant on the ground versus planting in a bucket in a greenhouse like this,
with the trellis lines,
would my output be?
Yeah, I mean, these are indeterminate or semi-determinate tomatoes. The technical word is just say determinate and indeterminate. They continue flowering, they continue fruiting, they don't just end.
Wow.
But most of the ones we do in the open field are determinate ones.
So they haven't.
Yeah, I mean, after 2-3 months,
they're done.
Yeah, then they're done. Then you have to start again. But this can go on 6 months, 5 months, 7 months, 8 months, actually a year. Some can last for a year. And you keep harvesting.
Does that mean that, because in Ghana, we have seasons where you can grow tomatoes and seasons where you can't grow tomatoes. Does that apply in the greenhouse?
Oh, in the greenhouse, it's an all year round growing. We grow all year round. The varieties, you grow all year round. I mean, you need to understand the market dynamics because some people decide to hold on a little on growing in particular times because there's a glut. All right. So they don't want to grow and then the stuff are so cheap. But I think that averagely, if you grow all year round, you make your money. When there's a glut, it's a lower price, but when it goes up, you're able to, balance out the losses you made during the glut. So you can grow all year round because one, you are controlling the environment. You're not depending on the rain. You're not depending on any other factor. You are creating the factors that will cause your crop to grow. So if you have that under control, then your crop is able to go through production all year round.
So walk us through what we are looking at here from the bucket to
all the way to the top.
Yes.
Okay.
So that we can really appreciate.
Okay, good. So right in the bucket, you have what we call cocoa pit.
Okay.
This is made out of coconut husks, all right? They crush it and all that. That is another person's job. But beautifully, we have these sourced locally. Techshelta does its best to source as much as possible local inputs. We get to treat it just to make sure that it's devoid of diseases and other stuff and pests. Then we are free of that. Then we bring it into the buckets. Now, the cocoa pit is supposed to be a holding media to support the crop, provide some support for the roots of the crop and allow the crop to absorb water when the water gets to it. That's the same thing the soil does.
So this does not have soil in it?
No, there's no soil. It's just cocoa pit.
What's the cost and benefit of having cocoa pit?
Okay. I mean, there are a lot of benefits. There are a lot of disadvantages anyway. Benefits here is that when you use cocoa pit and it's well treated, you are devoid of diseases and pests. So at least that lowers pest pressure and disease pressure on you. In the soil, unless you do proper soil testing, which could be expensive sometimes, you have nematodes and other pathogens in the soil. That can be very expensive to manage.
Okay.
Also, with this, you are able to isolate the crops. So if there's a problem, it does not run through.
I see some
buckets
there. Yeah, what is it? These lines.
Oh, those lines. Those are what you call the drip lines. They supply the water to the crops. All right.
Okay.
On each drip line, you have a drip eye. Okay. That is where the water.
We can turn the water on, or it's not time to turn.
Oh, excellent! It's not time though, but the tanks. Every greenhouse has a tank just outside there. Okay. Those are the valves there. Okay. When you open through the filter, then it comes through.
Okay. So if someone wants to start a greenhouse farm like this one, where would we even need to start from? And which vegetable would you recommend we start with in Ghana? Excellent.
So I would normally say, whoever wants to start a greenhouse, it's like starting any business. You need to define who your customer is and what the customer wants. That will determine what you use. Now, your customer will want certain volumes. That will also determine the size of greenhouse you go for and periods in the year when you need to do that. So if we're able to define that the customer wants tomatoes, what type of tomatoes they want, the plum and all that, those questions. When you understand that, what volumes do they want? That will determine what size of greenhouses should we build. And then what rotation plan, what plan should we have to do that? So understanding the market and what the market needs is first. When you get that right, then you need to ask yourself, which greenhouse will deliver the results I want? Where am I actually going to situate the greenhouse? Do I have access to water? Is it motorable? Can I get access to the road easily? And if I need inputs on agric inputs, can I get them easily? Those are factors you need to watch. Airflow is also important. Temperatures in the area is important. That will also inform you the nature of structure you set up wherever you're setting up at. But when you're setting up, you need to ask yourself, do I have the technical know-how? Who is going to support me? There is basic knowledge you should know. Okay. You need experts to teach you what to do. If you don't know how to grow in a greenhouse, Techshelta has a program for training, a 3-month in-house program. We train you, equip you.
Tell us a bit about the program.
Yeah, the 3 months in-house program gives you a basic knowledge about how to run a greenhouse, greenhouse management, pest control, fertigation. These are the modules we teach. It allows you to equip yourself with the tools needed to run a greenhouse. Okay. And we also have an application that allows you to connect with an agronomist to give you on-the-spot support in case you have a problem. So when you have the knowledge to support the growing of the crop, then it's reasonable to say, okay, yes, now I have the knowledge. I know how to grow it. I know where to get my inputs from. Get someone who is reliable to run the farm. You may not be available to run the farm. You can train yourself or you train somebody else. Also, in the pool of people we have trained, they are also available. Can always connect you to any of the people we have trained to help you run your greenhouse farm. Wow. Generally that.
Let's go down and see.
Okay.
So we're seeing, which ones will we see and know that, okay, this tomato is ready to be harvested?
Yeah, that's it right here.
So this one is ready?
Ready to be harvested.
Wow.
I think I could allow you to harvest, but...
So this is ready?
Ready to be harvested.
So you just plug it?
Plug it, sure.
It's like just any regular tomatoes. It's really nice.
So I did not start off as a farmer. I'm an engineer by training.
What?
Yeah.
How does an engineer end up?
Some time ago, a client of mine had a project they were deploying, and they needed engineering solutions, basically solar power for their greenhouses. So we gave them a proposition on the solution, and it was accepted.
Wow.
And then we deployed for the greenhouse farmers. But whilst at it, I kept asking myself, I like immersive design, where you immerse yourself in the experience of the user. So I decided, okay,
that's the
fine.
Best way to
yeah, at least. You don't just dump the solution to the person, but you immerse yourself in it. So that was when I said, okay, I better own some of these greenhouses so that I can experience if the solution I'm providing is answering the question.
What are some mistakes you made in your early days that newbies in the greenhouse farming space need to look out for?
Good question. I'm just trying to think about it because it's been a while ago. So knowing what crop to grow and who you're growing for was one thing. The fun of just seeing the crop grow was there,
excited.
but you're spending money.
So you need
And
to
at
make
the
some money.
end of the day, you can't consume everything you have produced.
Yeah.
You need to be sure that that product goes out to a customer who is willing to pay a premium for your effort. Because there were those who just come, they look at the tomatoes, tomatoes here, so, and they would talk you down until you sell at a giveaway price.
Yeah.
But if you look at that against the operational cost of the greenhouse, you realize that you didn't make enough money. Yeah. So understanding the nature of the customer you were going for was so important. It's something I missed out. Okay. But over time, when we started our greenhouse farm project with our new company, Techshelta, we had to think through that because you don't just build a tunnel and think that the magic of selling will happen. We had to understand the market, what the market wanted, what varieties they wanted, what sizes they wanted. So those are things you need to always do before you start any project like this. Know who your target market is. How much are they willing to buy it for? You can then project. If I'm spending X amount, then maybe in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, then I can make my return on investment. But if you don't have that projection, you actually go in circles thinking you're doing something. You do a lot of activity, and even 10 years, you still don't have your returns. So it's important to understand the market, what value they place on the product you're having, and then how much you are spending as compared to how much you will get. Then you can actually project, okay, in 5 years, in 3 years, with this kind of operation, I can plow my money back, I can get money back, and then expand.
Especially since it's perishable.
Yeah, since it's perishable. Sure. It'll go bad. Even though there are storage systems, reasonable storage systems. Aside that, you see, the way we grow this crop, okay, I actually have a sample which has been on the shelf for 2 months without perishing.
How?
Yes, because of how that's supposed to be a secret. Huh?
Okay, we can't tell you. Oh, it's very delicious.
Yeah.
How do you get it so juicy?
It's the management practices. You need to get that right.
Okay.
If you don't water well, if you don't give proper nutrition, you're sure that your stuff will not be nice.
Wow.
There are just some elements within your fertilizer which makes your tomatoes red, sweet, and a lot more.
I love it.
And when they come for the training, they'll get it. All right. You know, the proper thing to do is to have it in a nursery house like that. But that place is already full. Okay. But I just want to show you how the nursery works.
So you bring one. Should I grab one?
Oh, you want to grab one? That's fine.
So grab the nursery.
Excellent. That's a nursery tray.
Okay.
So in the nursery tray, this is another form of growing media. Okay. It's a potting soil, a little finer. Okay. Now it holds a little more water and all that. And then you add some vermiculite or something just to create some air pockets to allow for water to flow through easily, and then the crops which are shooting out can actually breathe easily. So in this, we nurse the crop. Okay. Tomatoes,
you start from here?
You start from nursery. Okay. You sow the seeds in here and cover them for a period of time. Normally, why we cover is just to keep moisture. Okay. But if you're going to be able to water every day, it's fine. Okay. You water just once a day.
Is it soil here or still cocoa peat?
This is a version of cocoa peat. Okay. It's a growing media, like potting soil. We call it potting soil. Okay. It is not necessarily the soil. It's a little finer, a little denser than the cocoa peat. Okay. But it allows for the necessary heat you need, the amount of water retained to allow for the seed to die and resurrect. Or germinate. The right word is germinate. to die, germinate. Jesus was resurrected. So when that happens, so sometimes, depending on the crop, tomatoes between 4 and 5 days start shooting out.
Just 4 and 5 days?
Yeah, between 4 and 5 days, it will shoot out. And then that will go through for about 3 weeks. Okay. Some people transplant in 2 weeks so that
when it shoots out here, do you still leave it here or you move it
No, you would leave it here for 3 weeks.
Okay.
For about 3 weeks, then it establishes, then you have better root development. Nice. When the roots are well developed, that is when you pick them out and then transplant. So this is another one. I think
after 3 weeks?
Yeah, about 3 weeks. It's not up to 3 weeks now. This is probably 2 weeks plus.
It already smells like tomatoes.
Yeah, that's tomatoes. Oh. So this, at this stage, is almost ready for transplanting. Okay. Then you will take them to a ready prepared greenhouse. What it means to prepare is spray, then all the cocoa peat is ready, the lines are ready, then you transplant. So the process of nursery allows you to firm the crop, prepare the crop. You nurse, you prepare the crop for the environment it's going into, to be stronger and be able to fight disease and pests and all that.
How important is it to get this step right?
Foundation, if you're building a house and your foundation is wrong, you can't go too far. So if you're supposed to build a story building and you do a very shallow foundation, you can't go that high. So if we want this crop to go for several months and give the results we want, then this is the foundation stage. You must get this right.
So how convenient is this? I see a lot of technology incorporated.
Yeah. So right here, you can find that the water is dripping on its own. You don't need to interfere with it. The fertigation tank is out there where the fertilizer is mixed with water and delivered. So what happens here is that the one who operates the farm is a little detached from the activity, but focused on making sure that whatever is coming in comes in. Over time, we have scouting. You have to come and scout and check that the crops are healthy, they are okay, the irrigation lines.
How do you do that?
Okay, scouting means that you come a little close to the crop because the crop tells you how it feels from its leaves.
Okay, so
and many more things.
How's this one feeling?
Yeah, so because they have recently sprayed it, so you have some of the spray still on it. Yeah, so you can't tell too much if there's a problem here. But I can probably go somewhere here. Or this one too has also been recently sprayed. But normally, yes, you have to look closely and look under to see. Sometimes there are pests hiding there.
Wow.
And you need to check. And if you don't,
you have to treat it like your baby.
Excellent. So being in a greenhouse is like being in an intensive care unit. Wow. You care for the crop like a patient who needs all the attention.
Speaking of which, a lot of us are consuming things that we can't trace back to the origins.
Traceability is a problem.
How important is it, especially now? We've gone through COVID. People who did not have a weak immune system, they ended up surviving. Those who had certain diseases that they could have avoided by just lifestyle choices, unfortunately passed. How do we use that as a learning experience to say, if I want tomatoes, I want to be able to trace it because I see how Paul and his team are diligently working on my tomatoes from the first
so
stage
take a look at this.
When it's an adult.
Excellent. So you see on each tray, we have a code written there carefully, which describes what we have put in here, when we put in there, and when we're expecting it. So this gives us the code. This is a trace code to tell us, I have put in this number of cherry seeds here, and I'm expecting that X, Y, Z. So if I have a problem from nursery point, I have a code to trace. Wow. Now, when I transplant this is still a batch code that will be kept until the crop is ready and harvested. I have something to trace. So we track some of these things in a manner that allows us to say, if like something happens, we know where it started from, and we can break it down and resolve it. Aside that, the inputs we buy from verifiable sources, sources that have been authenticated, that these are reliable products from XYZ point. We don't just buy anything because somebody says buy it. And then because we try to make sure we reduce pest pressure, you also reduce the amount of pesticides you use, thereby reducing pesticide residue, which over time affects the consumer. So what we do here is to make sure the final fruit you eat is as close to its normal form wherever it grows, without much effect, but giving you the best of nutrition to keep you healthy.
It's amazing.
So you can be sure.
Speaking of keeping us healthy, where do we find some of your produce?
Some of our produce.
Don't know where to buy.
Wow. You can always place an order through us directly by giving us a call. Go to our website. You have our numbers there. You can call us directly. Techshelta.com. Techshelta.com.
We'll have the link below, so you can just click on the link and then it'll take
Excellent. You go there. Very soon the software team will activate the shopping icons. Then you can start buying from there directly. But aside that, we give to our off-takers. I would not want to mention most of them here because probably
you'll miss some of them.
I'll miss some of them. So if you call us, yes. But most of the malls and co, we supply we supply and they pick from here.
How many buckets are in this greenhouse? Because I see a lot.
A lot of them. Approximately between 370, you have about 370 buckets here.
370 buckets.
Yes,
and
approximately.
And this is the same bucket that in how many months will grow into?
Okay, if it's cucumber, you probably need, by the second month, you start harvesting. So you go all the way to 4 months.
4 months?
Yes, you'll be harvesting all the way from the second month.
What quantity would you have?
Oh, for cucumber, depending on the size.
It's not as much as the...
No, it can actually be more.
Wow.
Cucumber can actually be more. You see, for cucumber, the dynamics are a little different because the customer, some need them very small and crispy, small, tiny one, the Lebanese type. Yeah. They want to just crunch on it, just chew. So they don't need it too big. But some of our women, the market women, they need it big because they know where they sell it to. They know the chop bars need it very big. So for that, we let it grow big. And that the weight is different. Okay. Yeah, so depending on the market we're targeting, we allow the food to grow bigger or leave it small.
How big is this land mass?
Okay. This particular area is about a quarter of a plot because I can actually fit 4 of these greenhouses on a single plot.
Wow.
On a single
plot. So someone has a plot?
Yeah, you have a plot of land.
They can do 4
You can do 4 of the structures. Actually, this is 15 by 9 meters. 15 meters by 9 meters. So if you can actually do 4 of them and rearrange. So 4. So if you look at the other side, that's about a plot. And we have 5 on it.
That's crazy.
Yes, you can actually
Because when I came in here, I was asking you in acres and you laughed.
Oh, no.
It's actually not that.
No, you don't need acres to start.
What would your output be on a when it's time to harvest?
Okay.
Give us a range.
Generally, if you're doing tomatoes and your cultural practices are right, depending on the varieties also you pick and the market you're targeting, you can have an average between 5 kg per plant, per cycle, between 5 kg to 12 kg. What it means is that if you have 300 crops, let's just even peg it at 5 kg. 300 crops at 5 kg, you get about 1,500 kg. That's 1.5 tons. Now, 1.5 tons, if you sell it at the market value, even when it's glut, 10 cedis, that's about 15,000. That's about 15,000, yeah, approximately.
And what would your starting capital have been when you were planting?
Averagely, you keep the operational cost between 25%.
Okay.
If you're doing a small scale, the challenge of small is that you spend a little more. But if you have more, you spend less because you'd have a single manager or a farm manager managing.
This is better.
Yeah, this is better. I wanted my face to be visible. So you spend.
There's a band here.
So you have, if you have 3 to 4 greenhouses, I would normally recommend people start with 5 if they're going commercial.
Okay.
So that you spend less on capital, human capital, resources. So in that case, you can keep your cost at about 25% of that final revenue you make.
But if you start with 5, what would your initial investment be?
Oh, that's a lot.
A lot of, because it's huge, like 5 of this.
Yes, but not too huge, depending on who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
If you're a businessman, no, I'm not talking to you.
Wow, Paul.
You are a big woman. No, you can actually buy 10. So let me just book you for 10, please. Can you get us an invoice for 10 for G5? Yes, you need 10. So depending on who
the person is.
Yeah, and the market you're targeting and the initial capitals they can raise. You just need to understand the market so that you know what kind of plan you put in. Because you see, if you just buy 1 tunnel and you say, okay, I want to grow XYZ and I'll get 1,500 kilos at the end of the cycle. Remember that 1,500 kilos does not come in one shot. Yeah. You start having this harvesting if it's cucumber in the second month. Okay. If it's tomatoes, later part of the second month, you start harvesting. And you start harvesting about 10%, 25% of the total, gradually up to 40%, all the way until it goes down when it's ending. So you don't get all of them at a go. Meaning that if I know my client needs 20 kilos weekly, I'll need to plan my production such that I have tunnels doing production at certain different stages. So by the time this tunnel is almost ending production, the other tunnel is giving me fruits. So you need to plan that very well so that you have production all year round. Otherwise, the gaps are there. When this ends the cycle, I need to wait for nursery to start before I transplant. And that means you create gaps. When you create those gaps, you create shocks in your market. And these guys who are buying, they just need to have it here and now.
How long does it stay here?
Yeah, it stays here. No, this is going to stay here for 4 months.
Then we move it? Or
then you clear the room and transplant another one.
when you clear it, is when you go to the last stage, right? You know, it will grow.
It will
here.
grow and you
So
harvest. You harvest
wow.
in
So
4 months. This will be ready in 4 months. You'll be harvesting from the second month.
So Paul, if I have about $2,000, can I start a greenhouse farm from my backyard that can make me some passive income?
Excellent. It's always possible to start. We are very small kits, from as small as 2 meters by 4 meters to 4 meters by 4 meters. Those are the smaller kit range we have.
Okay.
The 4 meter by 4 meter, you can actually add on. So let's take, for instance, you have a small space to start with $2,000, right? It's enough to get you a 4 meter by 4 meter. Maybe later you want to add on. We can actually build another structure. You can add on to that. So it can grow organically. So if you have more space, you can actually extend it. So with that 4 meter by 4 meter, which is exactly like what is here,
okay,
a 4 meter
what
by 4 meter space.
Is this?
Oh, that's quite small, because 4 meters by 4 meters, very tiny. Very tiny, less than a quarter of a plot.
Okay.
You can actually fit it there. Yeah, fit it there. Now what happens is that you have all your crops, whatever crop you want to grow. You can grow some herbs, you can grow your vegetables and all that within the structure. For this, if you're going with the normal buckets we use in our greenhouses, you can actually have about 44 plants, conveniently. 44 plants. 44.
44.
Yes.
So I'm saying 44, you're saying 44.
44. 44.
44.
44. But you're 44, 4 million. 4 million, yeah. So you can get 44 plants in there. And if you have a good cultural practice, I mean, if you don't have the training, we can actually train you. But if you have a good cultural practice, with that 44 plants, you can actually do between 4 and 5 kg, 44 by 4, you get about, some good coins.
Wow.
All right. So that you cannot consume it on your own. So you should be able to get it to your friends or something, to your neighborhood. Yes. Over time, when you scale and you look at something bigger than this, those smaller structures are not waste. They can become your nursery rooms for growing the crops. The young stage for the bigger greenhouse. So this is a good thing to do. And these structures can be used even for mushroom growing.
Really?
Yeah, you can adapt it. Yeah, we can adapt it for growing mushroom. We can adapt it for snail farming. So you don't need to necessarily do only vegetables. We can adapt this for mushroom. We can adapt it for snail farming. Your existing greenhouse for your vegetables, that can be adapted to that.
So if someone wants to start a business where, let's say, when tomatoes is no longer in season, they want to be the ones to supply it.
Excellent.
You're saying that within that period, they can specialize in tomato production. And then if they want to move to pepper production,
you can do pepper. With that same structure. You can grow your pepper, grow tomatoes, grow cucumber, if you're doing vegetables and all that. But if you want to do, for any reason, you want to switch to snail, because maybe you don't have time to always come and water the crop. Even that, if you don't have time to water the crop, we can automate the entire process such that the irrigation will go when it needs to go, your fertigation, everything will work. In the evening, when you come home, you come and do your scouting, check on your crops, and maybe you have to spray on some ferts and all that, you come and do that. But we can automate the entire irrigation process so that whilst at the office, it works for you. A regular tank like this, I know you have in your various rooms barrels, so you can just use it. It's another application of it. The barrels, and that's, you see the fertigation water? It doesn't look like your regular clean water, right?
No, it's red.
Because it has some fertilizer in it. It's fertilizer.
Oh, okay.
Fertilizer. So instead of going to pour fertilizer like you do in the open field at the base of the stuff, you put it in the water. And then allow it to go with the water, and that is your fertigation.
And you were telling me earlier too, like when your crops are growing and you see some sort of deficiencies, you can come here. Of course, you have to be an expert. To add to.
I mean, if there are potassium, calcium deficiencies, the crop actually tells you its life experiences by the leaves, the stem. Those visuals explain what the crop is experiencing. So if there are deficiencies in potassium, calcium, and the likes, you can easily see it from looking at the crop. And that is scouting. Your daily scouting will help you to know those deficiencies. And if you have deficiencies in calcium, you need to know your calcium program or your fertigation program. Put that into the tank and release it to the crop. And the crop will naturally correct.
So, Paul, we've learned a lot about greenhouse farming, but if there are people out there like myself who are still confused and need additional help, what kind of services can we come to Techshelta for?
Excellent. So, Techshelta provides approximately about 4 categories of services. We provide advisory service, helping you to know how to get in, what to do, what market to target, and all that. So we provide those advisory services. We also provide automation. So those of you who are not sure you're going to be available to run your stuff, we automate some of your processes for you. We do not end there. We also make available a connection to market. So we're able to connect your produce to market. So in case you produce and you're not sure who's going to buy and how much are you going to buy it for, we can establish those connections for you so that your produce goes out to market. And finally, we train and equip people to be able to do these things themselves. So we have a training package. We train 3 months and 2 months, and some people just come for a week just to brush up. So we have a training center right here at Obosomasi where you can come in and get training and be well equipped. All right, so these are the services Techshelta provides. Techshelta also is able to manage farms, no matter how large it is. Some people would say, okay, we need consultants to come and advise and manage our place. We can actually provide those services to you. Most recently, we are fabricating and building our own structures. So you may not need to necessarily import. You can come to us and we can fabricate to fit the spaces you have.
There are millions of young people out there who are looking for opportunities within their greenhouse value chain. Sure. They may not necessarily have $2,000. They may have 100 cedis, 200 cedis, $50. What are some of the opportunities within the supply chain that they can take full advantage of? Okay.
There are people who can connect this produce to market.
Okay.
So you can pick from us and connect to market and add a small margin to it.
Nice.
There are those who can coordinate for coconut husk to be retrieved from the places where they are crushed as waste and supply to the guys who supply us this, and that can become a market. So instead of just going to pick waste with the tricycle, you can go pick coconut and then deliver to where it is being processed, and then it comes in as cocoa pit.
Okay.
I think you were up to something the other time. What were you saying
about the buckets? Yeah, I mentioned about the buckets as well, because I see the buckets, and I'm like, can't we recycle used buckets? Because you can imagine millions of buckets going to waste when students leave dormitories and they want to go back to school with new buckets. Is that a possibility?
That is a possibility. It's just that the state at which it is received should be reasonable enough to go through this. But it's a good thing. At least it helps us to recycle. And even the dispenser bottles, those disposable ones, you can actually slash them in two and still use them.
Turn them into this.
Yes, turn them into this.
Wow.
So that actually lowers the cost of running this. So the other areas young people can also look at. Should I talk about the plumbing stuff?
Please talk about it all.
Yeah,
because we want something that you can do with less than $20, $30.
So something else I think young people can look out for, it's the irrigation lines. Irrigation lines are locally sourced. But if these guys who are plumbers, they could be plumbers already, because I know plumbers can add on this as an added-on skill, which will get them more revenue by knowing how irrigation lines work and then be able to run the irrigation lines for us. That's an additional job they can do. And for the fabricators, we actually engage the service of fabricators to fabricate these structures. So that's an opportunity. If you're an existing fabricator, you can connect with us and we'll see how we can align you with what we produce. And then you can use your fabrication skill within the agri sector.
It's amazing. I mean, the opportunities are just endless.
Yeah.
What last words do you have for people who are still asking, agric is just too difficult. Should I do it? Should I not? What would you tell young people who are kind of interested but need a little bit more push?
So receive the push. Anyway, what I would say is, you need a push. Is a great one to have a push, but let's just look at it. Everybody eats somehow. And that is a sector that always has demand. Food. So if you don't use agric as your fallback plan, make it your main plan. The challenge we have with some of our people is they want to wait when they are going to retire. I'll retire to my farm. Farming is a serious activity. So don't wait until you are old before you attempt farming. You may have a heart attack. So please come in early with the energy. There are new technologies available to make it more attractive. And please, remove your minds from the idea that, if they call me a farmer, it's not nice, it's not classy, it's not this. Listen, if you don't pay the farmer right today, you pay the pharmacist later. So you be the farmer that will save the rest of the world with good food. come along. I mean, farming is nice. Am I looking dirty? Just look at me. At least.
You look good.
Yeah, swag boom.
Swag. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you.
And we're done for today. Hit the subscribe button if you want more content from all of our young people in farming and agro processing. If you have someone you think we should definitely interview, mention them in the comment box and we may just be interviewing them next. Goodbye.
Thank you. Good point.